The holidays are a time of family reunions, religious significance for some, and breaks from school or work. With so many happy things, it's understandable why the holidays are highly anticipated by many. But does there ever get to be a point when it's too early to start counting down to the most wonderful time of the year?
Hello everyone. My name is Sophia and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about the holiday time and the nostalgia surrounding it and the phenomenon of counting down to the holidays even as early as the summer. Before we begin, I want to say I originally was making this video going into my senior year of college. Things happened, it's now 2 years later. The holidays are kind of an annual thing, so for the most part I don't think this will matter, but there will be a section where I connect counting down to the holidays to how I felt about going into my senior year, so when we get there, why I made that connection will make more sense now. Also, even though the title says Christmas, I'm really going to be talking about the December holiday time in general because I hope that anyone can relate to what I'm saying. I first got the idea for this video from watching a TikTok. I was resisting TikTok for a long time, but I finally gave in, and by gave in, I mean watched a TikTok compilation on YouTube. I still don't have TikTok. The compilation I was watching was about early 2000s nostalgia. It was one of those videos where they were like, if you grew up in the early 2000s, do you remember doing this, or watching that, or this other thing? While the TikToks listed many things you might remember from this time, one thing a lot of them covered was early 2000s holiday nostalgia. They showed commercials you may have seen on TV from this time, or what your elementary school looked like the day before winter break. While holiday nostalgia was listed as just one piece in these compilations, I feel that it covers so much that it deserves to get its own attention. To understand the impact of nostalgia, let's go into why the holidays are nostalgic. There are a lot of things about them reminding us of memories. For one, we often celebrate the holidays together with family and friends. Seeing and talking to these people again can remind us of memories that we share with them. Even beyond reminiscing, catching up with these people can make us aware of how much time has passed and how much things have changed since we last left off with them. Outside of seeing familiar people, a lot of us also have our own holiday traditions. Participating in these again or guiding the next generation in our family through them can feel nostalgic. Traditions can even be something very small, like as we're decorating the tree, seeing an ornament again that has sentimental value. Another big thing that feels nostalgic is re-watching holiday movies. What I think is interesting about this though is that for a lot of holiday movies that feel nostalgic, we were nowhere near the first ones to grow up with most of them. If you grew up in the early 2000s like I did, you probably remember ABC Family's 25 Days of Christmas or the Disney Channel Fa La La Days. The movies I saw over and over from these holiday movie marathons every year now feel nostalgic to rewatch, but I wasn't even around when most of them first came out. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Frosty the Snowman, and A Charlie Brown Christmas all came out in the 60s. Even newer holiday classics were still before my time, like A Christmas Story, which came out in 1983, Home Alone in 1990, and The Santa Claus in 94. Even the movie Elf has come out 20 years ago now. This also isn't limited to just holiday movies, but it applies to commercials and TV shows too. As an example, the Hershey Kisses holiday commercial, where the chocolates play We Wish You a Merry Christmas, originally aired in 1989, but it was included in the early 2000s nostalgia compilations, and it's still used on TVs today. I think it will be interesting to soon look at how Gen Alpha feels about nostalgic holiday movies because of how streaming services and video sharing websites have become more popular than TV. A lot of holiday movies became nostalgic to us because when we turned on the TV in December, that's what there was to watch. Now with streaming services though, kids have a choice of what genre they want to watch at all times of the year. I know Disney Plus does promote their holiday collection closer to December, but that could still be easily ignored, and Netflix does have some holiday movies, but still the number just seems small in comparison to the amount of suggestions that don't have anything to do with the time of year. I don't have subscriptions to any other streaming services, so let me know if they're kind of the same or not. But since holiday content only makes up a small fraction of what's available, it seems really easy to just skip if you don't make a point of watching it. Also, with video sharing websites, or at least with YouTube, creators are constantly pushed to make new content if they don't want their channel falling into the void. So while it's common for creators to make holiday time videos, most viewers are seeing new videos each year. Of course, you can always go back and re-watch a favorite video for as long as it's not taken down, and occasionally the algorithm will push an older video, but at least with myself, I find that I'm not as interested in re-watching a YouTube video that I've already seen as I would be for a comfort movie or show. Since Gen Alpha is having movies and shows and just videos presented to them in this way where they always have an unlimited choice, I wonder if as they get older, if they'll still feel the same nostalgia for holiday time movies. So this sidetrack aside, why I'm talking about the holidays now rather than closer to December brings me to the other piece that inspired this video. It wasn't just the TikToks alone, but it was a completely unrelated Google search. It was almost the summer, and I needed to ask Google a question that began with how much, but as I typed in how, space, one of the first suggestions to appear was how many days until Christmas. This was also before I had seen the TikToks or looked into anything about holiday nostalgia, so it was not due to past searches. I realized that in order for that question to appear so early, it must have meant a lot of other people were asking it. My first thought at realizing people were asking that question now was, people are counting down to the holidays this early? But then I started to wonder what is so enticing about the holidays that people look forward to them more than half a year in advance. After seeing the TikToks, I think that nostalgia plays a part, but I still feel that there's more with all the build-up that December gets. Part of the reason behind the extravaganza leading up to late December is because Christmas is a very sacred holiday in Christianity. This isn't the whole story, though. In most Christian denominations, Easter is a holier day than Christmas, so if the level of festivity correlated to the level of sacredness, then logically Easter should receive the greatest celebration. But it really doesn't. These reports from the National Retail Federation over a few years show how much December holiday spending outdoes Easter spending. While you don't have to spend money to observe a holiday or to show that you're looking forward to it, consumerism does define a lot of how we celebrate these particular holidays today, with buying presents, buying decorations, buying candy. While Easter does receive a large amount of attention, it doesn't reach anywhere near the same level as around December for Christmas. A lot of how we celebrate Christmas today also stems from social reconstructions that arose during the Victorian era. Before the mid-1800s, Christmas used to be a very solemn day for Christians. Instead of a celebration, it was a time for stern prayer, reflection, and remembering God. Just with timing too, late December is also when days are shortest in the northern hemisphere, so Christmas used to be a very serious holiday during the darkest, coldest time of the year. The Victorian era, though, had a reimagining of Christmas. Instead of staying somber during a time that could already be gloomy, they wanted to bring some joy and something to look forward to during this time of year. New pieces of culture that came out also shifted the focus of the holiday away from purely religion to instead values like generosity and appreciating time with family. As an example, this is the time period when Charles Dickens published A Christmas Carol. This is also the time when this legend began to develop about a short, jolly old man who delivers presents to children on a sleigh pulled by flying reindeer. Some of you may know him as Santa Claus. I don't know. Now, to be clear, stories of Santa Claus were around long before the 1800s, but this is when they really started to manifest into how we've known today. In the United States, developments like mall Santas, Clement Moore publishing the poem "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," and even stores showing images of Santa Claus in holiday ads pushed the narrative of Old Saint Nick to have a lasting place in our culture. Since a lot of how we think of and celebrate Christmas today stems from changes that began during the Victorian era, it's now seen as such a joyful, anticipated time because that's what it was manufactured to become. Now, I feel that there's always a countdown starting very early leading up to the holidays every year. It kind of starts off gradual. In late summer, as stores advertise back-to-school sales and fall collections, a few holiday-themed items appear on shelves. As fall gets closer, more and more holiday merchandise appears, now seeming a little less out of place, and a few people might even buy it around now. As September goes on, at least in the US where Halloween is a big deal, you'll probably also see a lot of people put up Halloween decorations. While Halloween is not a December holiday and comes with a totally different feeling, seeing its decorations start to come out does have a sense of Halloween is here, you know what's next. As soon as the clock strikes midnight on October 31st, November is here, which means it's practically December, which means it's finally acceptable to play non-stop holiday music on the radio. Halloween decorations are torn down, sometimes overnight, and are replaced with wreaths, tinsel, and holiday lights. Before you know it, it's finally time to put up the tree again and take out the Santa hats, and now it's okay to count down the days out loud. While midsummer is early, with retail trying to sell for the next season earlier and earlier, July makes it to the beginning of this countdown. In summer, there are also some Christmas and July themed events like sales and parties. While these do not reach anywhere near the same amount of hype as around December, I was still surprised to find how all out some places go. I found that there are some malls that put up winter holiday decorations throughout the whole month of July, and some people who even celebrate the 4th of July with winter-themed parties. The exact way the Christmas in July theme began is disputed, but the reason why it took off has to do with consumerism. The summer is a slower time for most retail places because people just don't have a reason to buy as much. In the US, there are about 2 months between the 4th of July and Labor Day, which is the longest period of the year with no major holidays. In the later half of the 20th century, stores and corporations began to realize how people long for the December holidays even during the summer, so they began promoting the idea of Christmas and July specials to try to boost sales during slower months. This is why it's called Christmas in July instead of Christmas in June, which would have been the true halfway point of the year. The idea worked enough for stores to continue it, and Christmas in July caught on and even extended outside of the sales world because people were excited to have a taste of the December holidays during the opposite time of the year. I do find it kind of ironic how people of the Victorian era wanted to reconstruct Christmas because they needed something cheerful to get them through winter, while summer's longer days and good weather were seen as happy enough. But now, with all the celebrations leading up to winter, people throw an extra holiday celebration in July because now the summer seems devoid of any cheer. So I think the takeaway of this section is people will take up any offer to throw a celebration. Also, with talking about Christmas in July, I understand that sometimes these celebrations are supposed to be a little intentionally ironic. Since regular symbols of winter like snow and cold weather often get associated with Christmas, sometimes it's done on purpose that you're celebrating it during the complete opposite time of the year. But since it was based on people's longing for the holidays, it still feels like anticipating the anticipation for December. Going back to how I started down this rabbit hole, usually at seeing a lot of people counting down to the holidays early, I would be right there with you. This time though, I kind of thought, am I really looking forward to the holidays this year? Remember, at the time, I was going into my senior year of college. At thinking about the holidays, I realized that year was going to be my last year experiencing the holidays as a student, but it was also going to be my last year experiencing everything as a student. While I was looking forward to a lot about post-graduation life, I also knew it came with much more responsibilities too. Even though I was also still technically an adult 2 years ago, The way a college student experiences the holidays is still very similar to a kid's experience because you still get a winter break and you're going to be going back to your friends afterwards, and you're still probably going along with whatever your parents have planned. I didn't know for sure if the holidays would feel different the next year, but it just seemed logical that they would. I would have to go right back to work the next day unless I was able to use time off, and if I was living on my own, I would want to see family, but then I would need to be the one to figure out travel arrangements, and I wouldn't have as much time to just recharge and catch up with people. Since I had one last school cycle left, I wanted to enjoy everything about that year. I still had a lot of time between then and the winter holidays. I had a good chunk of my summer vacation left, and I had the entire fall semester. I realized that if I just looked forward to the holidays, I wouldn't fully appreciate other aspects of the year that could still be enjoyable. Now, I could be wrong, but my guess is the people Googling how many days until Christmas were probably kids. It just seems like a question a child would ask because the holidays as a kid are magical. You get presents, everyone is happy, you get time off of school. And as an adult, the holidays are less magical because now you're the one buying presents, you're the one seeing if you could use time off of work, you're the one figuring out how you're going to see family, as well as all the other adult responsibilities and finances that don't just go on hold because a holiday is coming up. Realizing kids wanted to know how far away Christmas was that early, even if they weren't in their last year of school ever like I was, I still felt as if those kids were kind of wishing their life away. Even if they had a next year to participate in things they didn't take advantage of, I think that school is unique in that even though it's structured as a cycle, every year is still a little bit different, so you don't get back the time nor all of the same chances that you missed out on. I understand the idea of don't wish your life away is a lot easier said than done. Things like school and work and just life in general can be stressful, so it's understandable why people would look forward to their next break and a time when everyone seems happy. I wanted to see what psychologists had to say about looking forward to something so far in advance, and they did agree, but with a catch. They actually found that it can be healthy to look forward to something as long as it doesn't consume your life. It makes people happier to know that something positive is awaiting them, regardless of how big or small this something is. Especially if someone leads a stressful life, it can help motivate them to get through difficult periods if they're anticipating something exciting coming up. Looking forward to something also helps people stay on track and make better decisions because anticipation causes people to think ahead. It also distracts from anxiety because instead of worrying about what if this happens to me or what if this other terrible thing happens, instead people are thinking of positive things that are coming up. Even with looking forward to the holidays specifically, studies actually found that decorating for holidays early, especially the winter holidays and Halloween, makes people happier. They measured a spike in dopamine when people saw decorations for these holidays, even out of season. While psychologists found that looking forward to something can be healthy, they did recognize that it becomes unhealthy when it begins to consume your life. Also, looking forward to smaller things like your next lunch break or what you're doing after school or work is just as beneficial as looking forward to something big. Now that we covered a lot about Christmas specifically, I wanted to see if people from other religions still felt nostalgia and or anticipation for this time of year if they lived in a Christian-dominated area. This section is not meant to be, what? People of other religions feel nostalgia too? Obviously, nostalgia is not something specific to a particular holiday or religion or group of people. I was thinking, with the kind of presents Christmas has, the excitement leading up to it starts months in advance. The extravagant holiday light displays, the spirit of buying presents, holiday music taking over the radio. Does this feel welcoming and joyful to people of other religions too, or does it feel in your face? There are even people who celebrate Christmas who still feel like, enough with all this Christmas already. We're also told how Christmas has become secularized, that it's now more about the presents and the time off of school or work. Also, a lot of things associated with Christmas, like cold weather and snowmen and sipping hot chocolate by the fireplace, are really just things that have to do with winter. So does it feel secular enough to people of other religions? When I tried doing research for this section, I wasn't able to find any formal studies that had looked into this, which would have taken input from a large sample of people. Instead, what I have to go by are personal articles and videos made by individuals. This has its pros and cons. Going deeper into a single person's experience can show a lot more detail than what an impersonal study can do. At the same time, it also covers a much smaller group of people, so I don't know how common are each of the different views that I found. I really did try to find as many views as I could, though, to try to make everyone feel heard. To also be more specific, there are many religions whose followers don't believe in Christmas, but the ones I was able to find the most viewpoints from for this section were Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, and not exactly a religion, but people who didn't feel tied to any particular religion. I also hope that this doesn't come across as speaking for anyone. Instead, I wanted to bring a spotlight to less heard points of view about this time of year. To start off with, the one feeling most non-Christians seem to have in common is that they were much more aware of Christmas as a Christian holiday. As I said a little before, we're always told how Christmas has become secularized, that it's been taken over by consumerism, that people only look forward to it because of the presents and winter break. Even in less materialistic ways, how it's now more about values like generosity and gratitude and enjoying time with family. And not that these are bad, but that they're still an abstraction from biblical doctrine. However, it seems like Christians are the ones saying Christmas has become secularized. People from other religions seem much more likely to say that Christmas is definitely Christian and put a lot of thought into considering whether they felt like it's become secular enough for them personally to celebrate along or not. There were also feelings that no matter what they did in December, it would never be right. Some Jews who grew up in a family that still decided to put up a Christmas tree were made fun of at school by kids who said they couldn't really be Jewish if their family participated in any Christmas traditions. Other Jews who grew up in a family that stayed clear of anything Christmas were also made fun of for being outsiders. I did find some viewpoints from Muslims and Jews who had celebrated Christmas secularly, but this seemed much more common with Hindus and people who didn't feel attached to any particular religion. This seemed to be because the Islamic Bible and the Jewish Bible share some overlap with the Christian Bible, so more people of these religions seem to view celebrating Christmas as a betrayal of their own religion, since it directly goes against what their Bible accepts. Those who followed Hinduism or who didn't feel a part of any religion, who also didn't participate in Christmas, seem more frequently to decide this because they just didn't feel drawn to the holiday rather than due to a conviction. But those who did abstain due to a conviction similarly felt like it betrayed what they really believed in. In addition to having to grapple with whether they felt like Christmas was secular enough for them personally and to what level they felt comfortable joining the festivity, there were also different attitudes about this time of year. Understandably, some people were annoyed with the extravaganza that Christmas gets because the same isn't done for all other religions' holidays. It seemed that people with this point of view didn't expect anyone to keep up with when other religions' holidays are. It's just that when it comes to Christmas, everyone knows when it's coming up and how much time has left. Since it's also really the only time of year where we make a point of wishing everyone a happy holidays, some felt like many Christians around them only considered in December how other religions could have holidays too. I know we say happy holidays to be more inclusive of other holidays going on around this time of year, like Hanukkah for example, but I actually learned that Hanukkah is a very minor holiday in Judaism. The holiest holidays in Judaism are actually in the early fall, so it would probably be more inclusive to wish people a happy holidays when their most important holidays actually are. Going further with the Hanukkah example, this happens to be the holiday that a lot of non-Jews are most aware of because of how it falls close to Christmas. This was largely pushed by stores that wanted to expand their consumer base of who is buying presents during the Christmas season. In the early 20th century, many American Jews then started accepting the new tradition of gift giving during Hanukkah as a way to assimilate while still holding on to their culture. Also, unlike Christmas, Hanukkah doesn't always fall on the same days every year. Some years, when it starts in late November, it's already over by December 5th. Even though Christmas advertising starts way before the actual holiday, when it really ramps up in mid-December, sometimes Hanukkah has been over for more than a week by this point. When stores then try to make themselves seem inclusive by advertising things like, "Look, we're offering this one pair of token Hanukkah pajamas," it really makes it clear that they only see religion as a ploy to increase sales, since the holiday has been over for 10 days by that point. This, of course, was not the only attitude out there. Those with a more positive view felt like they could still enjoy the happy aspects of the holidays without all the stressful parts. Some people with this point of view brought up how they still enjoyed looking at holiday light displays, but were relieved that they didn't have the hassle themselves of putting one up and then spending more time taking it down every year and finding storage. They also said that having the day off for Christmas let them relax without having to worry about how they were going to see family over this time or cook for everyone. A lot of people with this view also said that they still enjoyed Christmas movies and music because they're feel good, and they still felt nostalgic for this time of year because of the holiday celebrations going on around them. Some people were also very open to assimilation, and they even found ways to incorporate ideas they got from Christmas into celebrating their own religion's holidays. Some Jews added a Hanukkah bush to this holiday, which based on pictures I found doesn't look like it has to be an actual bush. It could be a tree too, which they decorate with a more blue and white color scheme and with symbols of Hanukkah. Some Muslims also started a tradition of a Ramadan tree, which usually looks like a crescent moon-shaped tree with a star hanging down, and that they can decorate with ornaments and lights. I don't want to make it seem like everyone or even a majority of followers do these things though, just that I was able to find some examples of people who did this. In these communities, I still found heated debates on whether this is okay and it's part of how traditions evolve over time, or whether they're watering down their own religion and soon the original traditions will be lost. I also noticed a lot of flip-flopping between generations, where now adult children took on the opposite stance of their parents during this time of year. People born into other religions whose families still celebrated Christmas wanted to go back to their roots as adults and felt a need to save their culture. On the other hand, people born into families that stayed clear of anything Christmas felt like they were denied a piece of childhood, and as adults wanted to go all out for Christmas to try to make up for what they felt they lost out on. I thought this was interesting because a lot of times with religion, we think of people just taking on their parents' beliefs and traditions. I don't have any numbers though because I couldn't find formal studies, so I don't know if this flip-flopping is significantly common or if there's some sample bias. People from other religions who would write about Christmas must have strong feelings about it. If you identify with a non-Christian religion, I would love to hear your voice in the comments. I also hope that showing different ways that other non-Christians go about this time of year shows that there's no one right way to feel. We are now at the end of the rabbit hole led to by my 3 a.m. existential thoughts. Let me know, when do you usually start counting down to Christmas? Or if you follow another religion, how do you feel about the December time excitement? Until next time, it's Sophia.